kick it? Can I kick it? Well, I'm gone.
So it's your boy Scandoos, the Hip Hop Original, and we are here finally at the finale of Season 2 on the Connoisseurs of Hip Hop head-to-head interview series. And there is no better way for us to go out with this absolute legend. Someone who has actually interviewed me a couple of times on her platform. So it is genuinely a pleasure to have an opportunity to interview the great one herself, the one and only DJ Sarah Love. Welcome to the Head-to-Head series.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here. I'm happy to hear about all the cool work that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things which you may not be fully aware of, me and you actually started in the same place, to say. We went to school together. We were a couple of years apart, and to see your journey over the years has just been like fantastic,
Oh.
And so it's just and to be here is kind of almost like a full circle moment for me. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to learn more about how you began and got to where you are today. So the first question, how we usually start our interviews, DJ Sarah Love, how did you find your way into hip hop?
I guess it was meant to be, really, because it wasn't something that ever, one day suddenly I heard this new music and it changed my life. I just had to seek it out. It was never like that. It was just something that was always there. I thought, yeah, I'm feeling this. And so there was a series of different events in my life that I guess were quite key moments, really, but in a way it was kind of like they were meant to happen, but they were key moments in terms of they led me to next stages and next steps of my career and of meeting different key people and things like that. So yeah, I mean, hip hop was something that I was first introduced to from my older sisters. I'm the youngest of 4 girls, and it was just always around. I guess like having older siblings meant that I was lucky enough to be hearing whatever they were listening to, or whatever they thought was cool. And they've got impeccable taste, obviously, like me. And so I just got to piggyback on the rides along with them with what they were getting exposed to. So that meant like Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh and Houdini and early Tim Westwood shows and things like this. So I mean, I don't really have a memory of the first time where I saw this or heard that. It was just always around as long as I can remember, really.
Wow. Awesome. So what element of hip hop culture first gravitated to you? Was it, did you go straight to the turntables, or were there any other elements that you tried your hand at first?
Yeah, I mean, no, I always knew I wasn't interested in rapping myself. Like, I'm someone where I was always interested in production. I mean, just in general, music production, not specifically hip hop related. But I was always into, I was a drummer. That was my first instrument from when I was quite young. And for me, there's kind of like a real sort of synergy between drums and DJing kind of thing. Being a drummer and being a DJ, I guess you're the key person who's in the background. And so I always liked that kind of role, I guess. But yeah, I just was always interested in DJing. I was always interested in records, in vinyl, just analysing music kind of thing. And so I think that just lended itself naturally, that curiosity lended itself naturally to being a DJ.
Right. And so at what age do you remember, like, I guess, getting your first turntables or actually really, starting to hone your craft?
Long before having turntables or even thinking about this DJ thing as a craft at all. You know, my parents had records, and my parents used to have a lot of house parties. So I was aware of, they would have house parties where there would be live musicians and there'd always be live music, but there would always be a point in the evening when records would be played and people would dance and things. So I was always aware of how people responded to certain tracks and at what point these things were played. And you know, I might play records as well at these parties and things. So it was but that was just like, you know, on your home hi-fi kind of unit. So that was very different to then much later when I started working in Deal Real Records in the late 90s, where then that was really the first point. Although I had friends before that who were into hip hop, and we kind of like shared information and kind of I delved deeper on a more hip hop head level with them compared to what I was doing with my sisters. But yeah, then starting to work at Deal Real Records was really like a key moment, and just very, very serendipitous kind of thing. So it was just something that at that point was when I really became connected to the hip hop community in London, and therefore, you know, globally as well, I guess.
Awesome. So who would you say were like your initial like DJ influencers and heroes, like when you were starting out?
Well, I would say, first off, I would like to give, well, I think there are some DJs where like seeing them really, you know, it just fired a light inside me, and it made it, you know, I was just like, wow, I want to do that. I want to be like them when I grow up, kind of thing. And one of those DJs was DJ Cash Money. Seeing his routines in the DMCs was like, I just thought that it was just really exciting, just like even on a performance level, as well as just the curiosity of technically what was going on, kind of thing. And then there was also a DJ in London called DJ Lacey, rest in peace. Sadly, he died very young, but that was the first time where close up I saw a DJ like cutting up breaks and things, and I was just found that really fascinating as well. And I was just like, I need to understand what is going on there. So that's something that's he was never like a big time DJ, but he's known within a certain generation of the hip hop community in the UK. But yeah, that really fired my curiosity. And that, but you know, I would always say DJ Shorty Blitz is someone that, you know, I just feel he's someone with a complete package. You know, he is a fantastic technical DJ. He's so funky and skilled. Like, this is someone who has put his, you know, he's put his hours into his craft. He's someone who loves the culture and the music to the core, and he's like so dedicated to it. And he's someone who always shows love to other people, whether artists, you know, releasing music through his radio shows. He's someone who's, you know, got a really deep history in broadcasting as a DJ as well. And, you know, he just is such a lovely person as well, because I think there's lots of people who they could be a real diva, but they're not, you know, and that's what Shorty is like. And there are some people who they ain't got no rights to be acting like a diva, but they want to be a diva, kind of thing. And then there's some people where, yeah, they are like big, you know, legends out there or whatever. And, you know, but it's lovely when you meet someone who is so, you know, you would like, oh my goodness, this person's like a god, but they're lovely too. And Shorty is one of those people. And I just think Shorty is someone who does not get enough shouts out or shout outs, or just the kind of acclaim that he should. He's someone who can play any genre of music, whether that's cutting up breaks, whether that's jungle, garage, R&B, you know, hip hop, and he will murder the party regardless, you know, and he's a technician as well as just having a real musical ear too. And, you know, he's someone that I would love to be on Shorty's level of, you know, of DJ. And I have so much respect for him and just love and admiration for him. So I just, you know, he's someone who I always hold in my mind as like, no, Shorty is the kind of person that you want to be like as a DJ.
Awesome. So what would you say is the origin of the name DJ Sarah Love? And was it the first name you came up with, or how did we arrive there?
Well, I guess I had started DJing and I didn't have a name. I would say I'm not like the best person at coming up with names, but and so I was just like, oh, I don't know what to call myself, kind of thing. And so my real name is Sarah Jane, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll just use that temporarily, but I wasn't really, you know, feeling that kind of thing. And at the time I was going out with another DJ called Harry Love, and so at that time everyone was this was like in the Deal Real days, people would see me and they'd be like, oh hey, it's Sarah Love, and so it's just something that ended up sticking. And then for me, I was always like, well, to me, there is nothing more powerful in the universe than love. Like, love is like the ultimate thing. And, you know, so I just think that's like a pretty, you know, you can't test love sort of thing. So for me, it worked on that level as well. So for me, it just felt like a very natural thing. It just felt like it was my name. It was meant to be.
Awesome.
So it was something where other people started calling me, and then, yeah, it just...
So what was your experience of working in like such an iconic like record shop as Deal Real, like during what we'd say the heyday of UK hip hop?
It was just so exciting. I mean, it was just so much fun. Where I worked was in the original Deal Real store, which was on Knoll Street in London's West End in Soho. And at that time was really like a key to, that was an era of record shops in Soho. So you kind of had this whole, around the Berwick Street area, you had this whole network of different shops, and, you know, it was just the whole community of people where you would do the rounds and go to all these different stores. So, you know, you just got to know all the regulars who were just part of that record shop community, and then also all the hip hop heads kind of thing. And it was also such a cool time because the only way, and this is something which I think is distinctly different now that we live in this digital era, is the only way where if you heard of this thing, hip hop, or, you know, there was a certain artist that you were into, like if you wanted more information or if you wanted to just get more involved, there was only one way to do that, and that was to like roll your sleeves up and submerge yourself in this thing. You couldn't just sit at home like and hide behind a screen and be like, I'll dip into a bit of that and then I'll go into some of Adele's album, then I'll go, you know, into some EDM sort of thing. It's like you had to commit yourself if you wanted to kind of be accepted into that community as a credible person kind of thing. And so yeah, you know, there was a real, and I think that's something that's unique about hip hop now, but especially then, there really was a subculture that existed in practical, you know, tangible terms behind the music, and a massive part of that was record shops. Deal Real was particularly unique because it was like a social hub. It wasn't just somewhere where you went and exchanged money for a piece of vinyl and then left. People would come there, hang out. People were coming there and they weren't even buying records. They were just hanging out and politicking. You know, people would be passing in the area, so they'd just pop in and say, what's up? So, you know, you would just see all these faces who, you know, then who went on to have their own careers, or people who already had massive names in the industry and things all the time. And so, and then Deal Real at Knoll Street, it was a real party shop. So, I mean, there was always a party after the shop closed kind of thing in the shop. So whether that was people ciphering or just us playing records at full blast and just literally having a after work party. So that was really a place where I got to know a lot of key people in the hip hop scene in this country. And, you know, it's just a time I feel so lucky to have been part of, because we're never going to see that replicated again, you know. And I'm just, it was purely by chance that I discovered Deal Real. I was just walking down Berwick Street one day and I just heard this hip hop blasting out, and I was like, what the hell is that? And I turned around and I just saw this graphed up front of a shop with heaving with people, and so I was like, okay. And then I just walked in. I was the only girl in there, and this was on a Saturday afternoon, so it's completely packed every Saturday. That was the busy day of the week for record shops, and so I went to the front of the shop up to the turntables, and then I just asked if they had any jobs going, and then Pete Real, shout out to Pete Real, was like, actually, yes. And so he just gave me a job on the spot. So, and I just really, even though I feel like, you know, my everything is meant to, you know, it was meant to be, and I would have done a lot of these things anyway, but you know, it's always curious to me, what if I hadn't walked into the shop that day? What if I was too scared to have gone in and asked for the job? What if I didn't see the shop and I kept walking? How different would, you know, the course of events be?
Yeah, wow, look at that. So you was also a part of an event that throughout this series we've touched on a few times, but you were actually part of the team that brought it to life as well. So tell us a little bit about the history of Kung Fu and what you felt it meant to the scene.
Kung Fu is just like something so wonderful to me and so special, because it's not even just, you know, it was a time in my life where it's like, at that age, you know, you have no real kind of life experience to know what the rules are of how you should behave, kind of thing. So you're just doing whatever you like, you know, and whatever thing you feel is a fun thing to do. When in secondary school, I had two friends who were in the year below me at school, and then even just that's interesting, because it's not like you necessarily have lots of friends who are in other years, but me and this guy called Leo and a guy called Charlie, we used to always say hello to each other in school, and then we would talk about, me and Leo used to talk about jungle music, and, you know, we just connected on a music level. But then I lost contact with Leo and Charlie when I left school, and then just purely by chance, changing trains at King's Cross Station, I just bumped into Leo not long after I'd started working at Deal Real, and it was just like, oh, my darling, where have you been all this time? And he said, oh, me and Charlie just starting this new party. I said, no way, I've just started learning to DJ. I've just been teaching myself to DJ. And he's like, wicked, well, you know, bring your records down. We've got a guy playing drum and bass, there's a guy playing some R&B. I said, cool, I'm going to come and play some hip hop. Wicked, we'll see you then, like next Saturday. And so it was just a really tiny thing. Literally about 10, 12 people were there. It wasn't a hip hop night. And it was, but I had a plan in my mind where I was like, right, I'm going to turn this into a hip hop party. We're going to take this over. And yeah, it just morphed into this thing, which became a real natural epicenter for hip hop at that time in the early noughties. So and once we had moved to Camden, but it's something I feel very nostalgic about and very lucky to have been part of. Again, it's something that will never happen again, because, you know, this was pre-smartphone era. So, you know, it really was, you just had to be there. There's limited amount of photos, limited amount of footage from those parties. It was just a thing where everyone was there in the moment. We had all the best names, the key artists performing every month. And then we also had our open mic, and that was the first time I ever DJ'd was at Kung Fu, and then that was really where I developed my skills and cut my teeth as a DJ too. So and I gained respect on the scene as a DJ and built my name up. So it's played a massive role in many parts of my life, because you know there's lots of people that I became friends with through there, people that I've then gone on to work with, people who have gotten to know me because of that you know, lots of other work that I ended up doing as a result of people seeing me there. So it's something that, yeah, and every single night it felt special, you know, and it was something that I was very aware of, just trying to soak up every evening and enjoy it all. And it was just so much fun because we were all just friends having fun, you know, and just being silly, you know, but it was, so we didn't care about being popular, being mainstream. We were just doing what we wanted to do. So even on a DJ level, I was playing whatever I liked. So if that meant some random album cut from you know, a Task Force record, or if that meant, you know, the most grimy New York stuff, like that's what was getting played, whether it was classic things or brand new music. So it was there's not many places that really had that kind of energy or excitement that Kung Fu had, I think.
Right, and all in all, Kung Fu went on for about 7 years, right? Or how long
yeah,
was it on for?
Yeah.
And obviously you got to witness a massive growth within that time. Were there any particular nights or events that really stick out to you in terms of your memories?
Oh, so many. I mean, like it was like I say, every month was every Kung Fu event. We did lots of offshoot parties as well, but every month at Kung Fu, which was on a Tuesday night, was special, you know. And whether those were the Task Force shows, or the first time where Task Force performed with their live band called Raw Dog, or whether it was the night where Ty came and performed with, he had a live band with him, or the Y&R showcase, or having Champions of Nature, or through to Fat Cat performing, or us doing a show with Guru and with Raekwon, and to then us being in Thailand together, the Kung Fu crew being in Thailand together, to then doing other parties in Europe and things like that. But so it just makes it really tough to like pick one, because there were just so many that they were just all so fun, you know, and every set I enjoyed and relished every moment that I DJ'd there. Right,
awesome. So I mean, so off the back of that, you transitioned to doing radio, and you started off on, I guess, would you say underground radio, and obviously elevating up to the early days of One Extra. So what was that experience like for you?
Well, I had a bit, I was also doing, after, I was doing a lot of other shows and a lot of touring and other gigs as a DJ too. And then I did do a little bit of pirate radio and things, but then I was doing much more DJing out and stuff. And then it wasn't at the beginning of One Extra, but yeah, One Extra was still a pretty young station at the time when I joined. And that was quite a different, very different to doing something like Kung Fu, because Kung Fu, we were the bosses, like it was all on our terms kind of thing, which was very different to them working for a corporate entity. And so for me personally, you don't hear the phrase so much anymore, but I take selling out quite seriously, you know, and I think there are lots of people who are able to earn a living whilst maintaining their integrity, whether that is Nina Simone or Miriam Makeba, or, you know, all of our favorite traditional hip hop artist kind of thing. And so I could have easily gone down a route. Once, you know, I was getting invites from the BBC and from MTV to work for them, I could have easily gone down a route of being like, right, now I'm going to take it all mainstream and, you know, get that extra money kind of thing. But I just saw it as an opportunity to further showcase like our community kind of thing. So for me, I just kept it, as cliched as it sounds, real to my heart. You know, I couldn't get up there and just do something that I didn't believe in myself. So I loved those years. I got incredible experiences working at One Extra, because I first of all started doing the hip hop mix show, and then later I was also doing their weekend breakfast show. So, you know, which then that's again another completely different experience. There's so many people that I met through doing One Extra as well, from fans who used to message the shows to, you know, other DJs to just people within the industry and things as well. So again, like just priceless experience that I feel very privileged to have been able to, you know, have under my belt.
Right. So you're also cited as being the first female to have a national broadcast hip hop show in the UK. So how important is it for you to fly the flag for women in hip hop?
In all honesty, I think throughout my career, it's not something that I've ever kind of put at the forefront. I mean, I think maybe, and people can cuss me for that if they want, I really don't care. It doesn't, you know, what random people think of me doesn't really affect me. But I think for me, I always wanted to be, like I say, I've looked up to people like Tony Monson. That's a different lane of DJing, to your Shorty Blitz and your Rock Raiders and Cash Moneys and things like that. And, you know, as my career grew, I was doing shows with some of these, I was opening for Grandmaster Flash and Jazzy Jeff and things like that. So for me, I was very focused, and I wanted to be taken seriously to a Task Force fan. I wanted to be taken seriously by Jazzy Jeff. I wanted to be taken seriously as a DJ and be respected as a DJ. I didn't want to, and so I always distinguished myself and aimed to be a dope DJ. I'd never aimed to be a dope female DJ. That was, and I, in some respects, of course, I recognize that, you know, there is discrimination that happens in the industry. Of course, I've seen that too. But in many ways, I feel the best way to deal with that is by not focusing, constantly bringing back to the fact that I'm a woman, but just absolutely slaying it. So I'm making whoever is DJing after me look stupid. So whether that is, and most likely, 99.999 times out of 100 is a male DJ, you know, but there's no way I'm going to go out there and be the best female DJ. No, I'm going to go out there and you not even think about the fact that I'm a female. And so it's not something where it was, and that wasn't even a conscious discussion that I had in my mind. It just wasn't something that was ever really in my mind. I just wanted to absolutely tear it down, and that was all that I ever thought about, really. So yeah, I mean, it's I do recognize though that it's there are certain things where, you know, women need to be given their dues for, and part of us overcoming some of the gender discrimination that happens is by recognizing women's achievements, you know. And I think at the same time, when people, which I think is the same, just speaking in terms of hip hop, like if we don't start recognizing the true facts of history and being told by the real authorities of of our story, then we're leaving it to be rewritten by people who don't really know what they're talking about, and that's when we get into difficulty. So something, for example, like I think, you know, I had just heard more recently that there was someone else was saying that they were they were using the tag that they were the first nationwide broadcast female DJ, and I don't think that that's helpful to just rewrite history. That's not helping the overall cause that women face. That's not helping her, because that's not the facts. And let's just be real about it. Like, that's not taking anything away from what you're doing by just recognizing what has come before you.
And that's the thing, is when people don't know their history, you know, people can just like really come out and say whatever they want, you know, and without anyone fact checking them really. You're also cited as the first ever female nominated for a MOBO Awards. And
the first and only, DJ. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
In the best DJ category, yeah.
So what did that mean to you, like, as an accomplishment?
Oh, I mean, it was a total shock, because I wasn't kind of expecting it at all. So then just to suddenly be told like, oh yeah, you've been nominated for a MOBO. I was like, oh, okay, like, cool, kind of thing. So but at the same time, I thought like, yeah, like, I don't give a damn. Like, you know, at that time, I was working relentlessly, and I mean, I was hardly sleeping, kind of thing, between flying all over the world, DJing, being on the radio, being on television, doing, you know, I was just living a ridiculous schedule at that time. And the fact of the matter is there weren't many DJs in the UK who were working at the level that I was working. And I am proud to say that I was also doing it as myself, not being a sellout, you know. And I'm not saying that other people, that's how they were doing it. I'm just saying, you know, I did that I was playing some straight up hip hop business kind of thing. And at the same time, I can play other genres, and I do, and I will always play those in a way that is true to who I am. So, you know, I just thought, yeah, why not recognize a woman who is out here grafting, you know? And I was nominated in that category 2 years in a row, and I think both years it went to Westwood. Yeah. The actual did, yeah.
Well, it's fantastic. So the next question, you're also well known for your interviews, and you've interviewed some of the biggest names in UK, or not UK, but just in hip hop general. You know,
you've really done your homework.
We're connoisseurs, that's what we have to do.
I'm impressed.
Are there any particular interviews that you've done that really stick out to you, like for good or bad reasons?
Good or bad reasons? Gosh, just so many. I mean, like to meet. To interview Chuck D was very exciting, because I was just kind of like, oh my goodness. And, you know, just many people that you just have so much respect for that I didn't, you know, I never thought that I would meet necessarily, or get the chance to, you know, chat with them one-on-one. Just so many people, but at the same time, I'm so happy to be able to even interview upcoming artists and things like that, and give them shine too. I mean, recently I found some buried footage from my show Soul Power that I used to have on Spine TV, and through that I wanted to make a show where we were interviewing people on the kind of underground side of what was going on in New York in that time. So this is about 12 years ago, and so I was speaking to Tanya Morgan and Souls of Mischief and things like this. But yeah, I mean, also getting the chance to interview DMC of Run DMC was incredible, because he was such a lovely person. Again, I mean, if anyone could be like a diva kind of thing, it's someone, you know, who is just part of one of the most iconic groups of hip hop history, but is the most lovely person. To be able to speak to Fife, interviewed him 3 times, which, you know, obviously now it's so, you know, it's just such a shame that just listening to some Tribe yesterday, it was just like, you know, this is timeless music, you know, and so to get a chance to be able to speak with someone like that as well is so special. But yeah, I mean, I'm having a mind blank because I guess there's just so many people, but yeah, I mean, like your Big Daddy Kane's, and bringing together that I worked really hard to bring together an interview with the whole of the Juice crew when they were in the UK a couple years ago, which, you know, even for them, they were like, this is off the hook, that we're, you know, just how in depth, and us all having an interview like this together. And so, yeah, so I just feel very happy to be able to share some of that with other people, as well as being able to like have a chinwag with Ghostface or Raekwon or whatever kind of thing.
Awesome. So you moved over to Fubar Radio, and how refreshing was the freedom that Fubar gave you in terms of what you could play and who you could have on your show?
I mean, it was not nice because they named themselves as censorship-free radio. So, of course, me, the kind of person that I am, I leapt at that opportunity to be able to frame a show however I like. So and just to design the format of the show too. So it was lots of fun to be able to do something. I mean, for me, I guess from going from working at certain levels of broadcasting and performing, it's you know, I have certain standards that I don't really want to so to be able to be working with a real production team and things like that in a real radio studio and stuff like that, I think that appealed to me too.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So like you said, as you're known as an international DJ who performed in many different countries, many different continents. Now, are there any particular places or that you've played at that have been quite groundbreaking to hear hip hop in that particular country for you?
I wouldn't say just to hear hip hop in those countries, because I think that's the remarkable thing about hip hop is that it's and about that culture, but specifically about hip hop. I think you can say the same thing with reggae as well, but it's different with hip hop because you can go any country in the world and you will find a hip hop community there, you know, and it's just remarkable to me. And it is thanks to people like Run DMC and the kind of commercial success that they had, that, you know, people in Samoa know about hip hop and then created their own community and their own scene, through to, you know, people in South Africa or in Tanzania or in all Latin America and things. And so, so it's been amazing to me, though, to travel to some countries that I never even dreamed of going to, let alone that my record bag was going to take me there, and then find that, you know, there are heads there. And I don't mean just people who know about Fat Man Scoop records. I mean, like, you know, people who there is a history of hip hop there, from going back to, you know, the 80s kind of thing, you know, maybe even 70s in some cases. But yeah, to be able to go to somewhere like Cambodia, to go to all over Africa, to go all over Southeast Asia, to Sri Lanka, to India, to, you know, I've just never, the only place where I've not been to yet as a DJ is to South America. The furthest south I've been is to Puerto Rico. So going in it, which again is just fascinating to like learn about the hip hop scene, the hip hop history there, or, you know, the hip hop history in somewhere like Naples, Italy, or, you know, and just how deep and, you know, there's proper heads there and stuff. It's amazing to me. So I wouldn't say that I've been like, oh my goodness, people are hearing hip hop in Kenya. It's just more like, it's been more of a thing of like, wow, I've gotten to Kenya because my record bag kind of thing, or I've gotten to Puerto Rico or wherever, you know, whatever other place because of my record bag. So, and yeah, because of my reputation as a hip hop DJ. So yeah, that's something that I feel very lucky to have been able to do.
Right.
And I mean, this was all began as well, like at a time when, you know, this was pre-Serato. So I was carrying like 25 kilo record case around like internationally. This was also a time before they were very strict with luggage allowance on flights. So you could kind of like chat the person up at the check-in desk and they'd be like, all right then, I'll let you on with the case. So, I mean, yeah, I feel very, I'm very privileged to have been able to be the last of that analog generation.
Yeah. And so how is, speaking of the shift from vinyl to Serato, how would you say that's improved the craft of DJing for you? I mean, by having a wider selection that you can bring with you now, or does it kind of hinder it a bit because you don't really get to miss the experience of putting actual vinyl on the turntable?
I would say it's a bit of both. In one hand, like one thing that I'm very pleased that I began DJing before digital DJing, even before CDJs and Serato and things, is because you might turn up to you know, you've at home, you're getting ready for the party, you've packed your record box, you've got a finite number of records, and then you think like, right, yeah, let's do this. You turn up and you're like, oh my God, this is a completely different party to what I thought it was. And so then you're like, right, well, you've got to rock, you've got to do your set. So that's also a very important skill, like the best DJs nail, is how to make whatever it is that you've packed in your crate, make it work and rock that party kind of thing. So you might have packed a crate thinking like, yeah, it's all going to be hip hop head sort of, you know, ready for a mosh pit, and then you get there and it's girls in high heels and like guys wearing sunglasses or something in the club. And so yeah, just making whatever it is that you've packed in your crate, making that work for the audience that you find when you turn up at the club. And then again, like if you're DJing internationally, that can you know, what is how parties, the kind of music that rocks a party in certain other countries is a complete different, you know, that they might not know those records in another country kind of thing. So it's just being prepared and skilled enough to be able to do that is something that you had no choice but to learn before digital DJing, whereas now you have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of songs with you. So on one hand, that's helpful because, yeah, you can just be like, okay, quick, I'll just switch to that crate, sorted kind of thing. But on the other hand, that could also be a hindrance because sometimes if you have too many options, you know, how do you, maybe that's not so helpful kind of thing. Sometimes having fewer options and really making that work, it can be, you know, there's an art to that, and maybe it can bring out the best in you as well and make you dig deeper. So I think, but obviously, I much prefer from a health and safety point of view not having to break my back like carrying records all the time. It's much lighter to carry a Serato set up than it is carrying a couple crates with you. Yeah, so there's benefits in both ways, but yeah, it's much lighter affair not having to carry vinyl everywhere.
Okay, so how did the pandemic affect you in terms of not being able to travel or do club nights for about a good year and a bit? Was it a thing where you still kept creative, or was it driving you crazy, or how did it affect you?
I mean, I feel pretty lucky because I had a baby at the end of 2019, and so I was already had already made my plans to be off the map for the next year or two, because, you know, my whole adult life has been completely dictated by my career, and, you know, in terms of I've missed out on my loved ones' lives and key events in their lives because I've been off on tour, I've been doing, you know, other things, and, you know, there's lots of things that I've not been around for because I've just been so busy. So for me, I was happy, you know, to now for the first time in my adult life to say, right, I'm going to take a break from that and put all of my energy into giving my child the best possible start that I can in their life, and that I've just been entirely focused on that, which so that meant that I already knew and had made plans to not really be off the grid for a while. So in many ways, it didn't affect me in the way that it did for other people, because it wasn't like I was just going around normal life and, oh my God, my left foot's been cut off kind of thing. I had already made, you know, my preparations for not my left foot being cut off, but for just being in my own lane and my own zone sort of thing. So in some respects, I think I've had it a lot easier than other people, because also, you know, having a baby is a non-stop focus and demand on your life. So I haven't been worrying about, oh, what do I do today? Who do I do? You know, kind of thing. Because I've just been completely engrossed and in love with my baby. So that's quite different, I think, for some people where they weren't really prepared for that. So it's been a nice distraction from the pandemic as well, I guess.
Oh, first of all, congratulations on the new edition. And so now you're more or less back on the grid now. Has this like second phase of your career, has the approach kind of changed now to how you work going forward?
No, because I'm still the same person where, like Eric Cartman, I do what I want. I mean, I just want, I do what feels true to my heart, and that's where that's my starting point, and then I move forward from that. I mean, obviously, there's logistical factors that are quite different now, being a mother compared to, you know, in the past it was typical for me, every Boxing Day I would fly out of the UK and I'd be on tour for 2 months straight, and then I would come back in like February, March and be like, hi everybody. So so things like that, that's obviously a little bit different now, that if I'm gonna take a child on tow with me sort of thing. But so I guess it's been wonderful because it's a chance for me to also look at some of the other things that are very important to me to tick off my to-do list while I'm with the time that I have left on Earth, you know. And I'm a multifaceted person with lots of different interests, so, you know, I see it as an opportunity to still dedicate myself to my duties to my community, and at the same time do other things that I've neglected because I was so busy with my career in the form that it has taken for like the last 20 odd years.
So, yeah, it's gone quite quickly, isn't it? The last 2 decades. I've got a bonus question from my team. You are quite active in sneaker culture, and you're known for having quite a large collection of trainers. I don't know how true that is still to this day. How important is it to you to have a pair of fresh crepes, as they say?
Well, I mean, how important is it to me? I mean, I wouldn't say, listen, I think like, there are much deeper things going on in the world that are like very important to me, like literacy and health and education, things like this. But, you know, I can't help it. The shoes are something that I am quite particular about, I guess. And so, you know, I can't get away from, I was about to say from judging people on their shoes. No, that's harsh. Edit that out. No, don't. No, I mean, like, but I was thinking about that on dating apps. They should force people to show the shoes that they wear, because I feel like you can tell so much about a person from the kind of shoes they wear. I think more so in the past, because the shoes you wore really did say something about your politics, your ideology, your morals kind of thing, and you could tell what kind of music someone was into by the shoes they wore. Whereas now it's like everyone and their auntie is like into Jordans, and it's like it's kind of meaningless sort of thing. So Yeah, I mean, I can't resist shoes. That's why the best thing that I can do is just not look at that shoes, because and it's not just, you know, I'm into all kinds of shoes, but yeah, I'm a trainer head from day one kind of thing. But yeah, I just find a nice pair of kicks pretty irresistible, and yeah, I think all of my shoes are pretty damn fly.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I challenge any of these sneakerheads, like, you know, to, I just think some people go take it a bit too far in terms of you know, it's like, just steady on, guys, it's not really that deep. Yeah, it's like, it's lovely to, I think presentation is important. It's like, you know, that's part of how we express our personality and you know, represent who we are, kind of thing. But you know, I think I am interested in global politics, I'm interested in philosophy, I'm interested in history, I'm interested in geography. These are things that I think are really important, you know. So but yeah, I will not show you the wall of sneakers boxes that I have outside.
Okay, so to close that particular segment, really, what would you say is a definitive Sarah Love trainer? What is your go-to?
Well, I was also going to say that part of the problem, I would say one of my problems is, how I know I have a problem is that I refuse to ever count how many shoes that I own. So yeah, I have no idea how many shoes that I own. But I would say, if you met me maybe when I was a teenager, I would probably say it was Superstars. It was the, you know, Adidas, shell toes. That was like me every day, all day kind of thing. But I would think my favorite shoe of all time is the Nike Air Max ones, like, full stop. That is a hot shoe, like, yeah.
Awesome. So you've expressed that you have other interests in literacy and politics. Are there plans to, you know, spread your creativity into other forms, like in terms of maybe writing a book or, you know, going forward?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I've always had another freelance career at the same time as my music career, which is I'm a freelance medical journalist. So that's something that I've always been doing as well for the best part of 20 years. But yeah, no, most definitely. Like, there's so many things that I've never even dabbled in before that I've always been interested in. And, you know, I think it's important to lead by example, and to, you know, that's the best way to lead. So I want to, which I guess I've gotten a bit of that from my parents, but I think now that I'm a parent, I want to set the example to, you know, you can sit there saying, you should do this, you should do that, but if you're not doing it yourself, then really, you know, that's pretty weak kind of thing. So I want, you know, my child to have a healthy diet. I want them to be active. I want them to enjoy education. I want them to find fascination and excitement in learning, and in knowledge, in academia, in, you know, in their power, you know, the power that they have within themselves, within their own confidence. And I think those are things that you gain from having life experiences, whether that is in, you know, your physical activity, taking part in sports, or from working really hard at something and learning to have a work ethic. So yeah, for me, I'm definitely going to be like working in other fields, some music related and some completely non-music related too.
Awesome. So what would you say is the, obviously you've probably got a long way to go still in terms of your career, but I mean, what would you say is the DJ Sarah Love legacy? What would you want to be remembered for?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, that's almost like a question I don't feel worthy of being asked kind of thing, but I would say, well, I have no idea. I think that's for other people to decide, isn't it? But, you know, look at just the other week, by accident, I found, I was looking for some files or something, and I accidentally found some CD track lists that I had every week when I was doing the hip hop show on One Extra. I would like get new music together every week, and I would print the track lists out, and I found 2 CD track lists from one particular week on the show, and I was just like, no one can ever test me and say that I did not represent my people with my career. My entire career has been spent bigging up other people, whether that is through the music that I choose to play in record sets or DJ sets, or if that's music that I've played on the radio, or artists that I've spoken about on television, or the people, that I've bigged up when I go all around the world. So it's not, no one can ever say that I did not big up my people and use my position to represent my community. So I think, if nothing else, that may be, but hopefully they can say that I was a nice person. I don't know. I hope. I don't know. It's not for me to decide, it's for others to decide.
Grand. That's fantastic. And here's a question. I'd even call it a bonus question. It's a question I've heard people ask you in other interviews, and you tend not to answer it. But I'm gonna have to go.
Oh God, what's this gonna be? Okay.
Right. So, what would you consider like your favorite hip hop records of all time?
No, but that's an impossible question to answer, because that could change from day to day, that could change from week to year, sort of thing. That's so difficult to answer, because it also depends on what kind of mood you're in, like where you are in your life at that time. Like what was so, it was interesting to me listening to Pete Bond's radio show the other day, and he played Can I Kick It, Tribe Called Quest, and then we spoke about it afterwards, because I messaged him and I said, what an incredible record that is. And he said, yeah, it's a record I never normally play because I consider it quite commercial. And I was like, me too. That's a record I never ever play when I'm DJing, because for me that is quite a commercial song. But I was just saying to him, it's like that song is becoming more and more timeless as time goes on. And what an incredible piece of music that is. Like, it's put together in such a musical way, and it's just all about the arrangements and the layering in how that song is put together, and just the musicality of the raps and everything. So whether that is, I'm a massive Gangstar fan. I love Gangstar, I love MOP, I really, the DITC like whole body of artists. It's just very hard, because then you're just flooded with people. I was asked for another podcast to pick an album to speak about on their podcast, and I chose to speak about the Organised Confusion Stress album, which I think that's another record that is very special and just atmospheric, and it's like you're transported into a whole world when you listen to that record. But it's a record that kind of gets overlooked because people want to talk about Reasonable Doubt, they want to talk about Illmatic all the time. Again, how can you not like Illmatic is what an incredible piece of artwork that whole thing is. How can you, it's comparing apples and oranges to put that next to a Midnight Marauders and say, okay, well, which one's better, kind of thing. And then at the same time, for me, you've got something like Daily Operation by Gangstar from UK Records, Task Force EP with Mark B. That's a really special record for me, that I just love the sound of it. I love Task Force. Chester P is one of my favorite MCs of all time. Then to Black Twang's catalog and things too. It's just so hard to out of that. That's just those are just some names off the top of my head, so it's just very hard. And then I would never want to pick one, because then I'll go home and I'll be like, oh, I forgot about this, oh, there's that, oh, that and that, and it's very tough question to answer. So that's probably why I try and duck and dive and avoid answering it, maybe.
Well, there is answers within that answer, so we kind of get an idea of where you're at. Awesome, man. Well, Sarah, I want to thank you so much for taking time out to kick it with the Connoisseurs tonight. And yes, it's definitely been an honor, and we definitely look forward to connecting with you again someday down the road, and officially thank you for your service to the culture, to the scene within the UK as well. and definitely been a huge inspiration as a DJ, as an interview personality as well for us. And yeah, it's really definitely an absolute pleasure to get a chance to speak to you finally.
Oh, it's my pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. It's lovely to speak to you and keep up all of your fantastic work that you're doing. It's a great service that you're doing for the music and for everybody listening to you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so to everyone involved, and also if people want to get in touch with you and keep up with us, because I know you're out playing, doing events again, you know, what's the best way for people to get in touch?
Well, definitely come through to Alchemy. This is a new residency that I'm going to be holding down with, taking it back to some proper hip hop business there on a real, you know, credible scale kind of thing. So there's going to be some really cool parties that we're going to be putting together. There is at E1 in London. And yeah, so the 19th of February, if you hear this podcast before then, come out. We're going to have Just performing live. And you can find me everywhere online at DJ Sarah Love. And there's djsaralove.com, which you'll find all of my links to.
Awesome, fantastic. So until next time, DJ Sarah Love, thank you so much for joining us. All the best.
And you too, lovely to talk to you.
Peace.
Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it?